What are the plans from the Director of Public Prosecution's Office for this year's 16 days of activism? How protected are children who are victims and/or witnesses of crimes? How is the backlog in the courts of law affecting the delivery of justice? And how accessible is the NPA's services to ordinary citizens? What time is it? It's question time. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Tsedu. Today marked the official launch of the 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children. This happens as crimes against women and children are on the rise. Are the courts doing enough to prosecute perpetrators of such crimes? My guest today, Advocate Andrew Chauke, the Director of Public Prosecutions here in the south of Gauteng. Advocate, welcome to the show, and it's quite indeed a privilege having you.
Thank you.
The launch of the 16 days of activism, yes. Indeed it affects quite a lot of what you have to be doing as the courts here in, all over South Africa, but we would have to focus on the south of Gauteng. Yes. Let's just talk briefly about that.
Well, it's indeed that time of the year when everybody in South Africa get themselves to conscientize everybody in the community and South Africa about the violence against women and children.
Yes.
In our division here in South Gauteng, Johannesburg, we have initiated a campaign under the banner which says, "Count me in."
Yes, yes.
Together moving to a non-violent South Africa, especially in respect of women and children.
Okay.
Today in the morning, we had a launch at the stakeholders in Protea Court,
okay,
where we were launching this campaign that I'm telling you about.
Yes.
And of course, we need to go out and educate our people and members of the community there.
Yes.
We also spoke with our stakeholders, your judiciary, your police, and everybody that within this 16 days of activism against women and children, we should at least, within the court system, finalize 16 cases that are geared to address the issues of violence against women and children. And okay, on the 3rd of December, we're going to have a dialogue, divisional dialogue with all the stakeholders. Okay. By court, and where we're going to discuss and get the community of Soweto to tell us what is it that they expect from us and what is it that we can expect from them in terms of partnering in order to address this cause of violence.
You're saying stakeholder interaction or engagement there. Yes. By stakeholders, who exactly are we talking about here?
We're talking about the judiciary, the magistrates, the police, the Department of Social Services, your Community Safety in Gauteng, City of Johannesburg, your NGOs, your Ikale Temba, Teddy Bear Clinic, you name them.
Oh, I see. Yes. How many courts do you have in South Gauteng?
The high courts are about 14 that we sit every day.
Okay.
The regional courts, about amongst the 13 districts that are there, it's about 69. And the district courts, the magistrates courts, about 160 thereabout.
So that's what you're looking after.
Yes.
Gee, that's almost 100 courts. And how many prosecutors do you have? Do you have enough, actually?
Yeah, we'll never say we have enough numbers, but in terms of numbers where we are currently, we save for vacancies here and there, we should be able to cope with the numbers that we've got. We're talking about 467 prosecutors thereabout. Yeah.
Are they able to deal with all these cases that perhaps may be facing, particularly your social crimes, so to say?
Yes, they are. In most of them, I would say, especially those who are in the High Court. In the majority of them, almost about 80 or 90% of them, they have been trained in various fields of prosecutions, your general prosecutions, your prosecution against violence, your rape cases, your children abuse cases, your murder cases, and your robbery cases. And even the prosecutors in the regional courts, they've been taken through sorts of trainings with Justice College. Some of them do in-house training in the DPP's office there in Johannesburg. So we're pretty sure that everybody is on board. Those who lack experience, of course, we guide them accordingly.
Okay. We'll talk about corruption later towards the end of the show.
Yeah.
But whilst we're still talking about the 16 days of activism, and you're saying that you've agreed that at least, 16 cases should be finalized. What do you mean by finalized?
Those cases that are
already
into court, that people, the accused are caused to plead, evidence is led, judgment is passed, and sentences are passed.
Okay.
Yes.
What is the most difficult thing in prosecuting a case that involves a 1-year-old as a victim of abuse?
As you can imagine, the vulnerability of the victim. Well, by the way, the Minister of Justice now says, once you always refer to people as victims, you're perpetuating the scourge yourself. Yeah. We should actually call them the offended,
Oh, okay.
They have been offended, so they are the offended. Now, if you look, in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act and in terms of the law, the child would not be in a position to give evidence anyway in court. But then what you will do, you will get the evidence outside of the child, whether it's the mother, the grandmother, the brother, and whatever. And we have got these so-called court preparation officers who would prepare these witnesses in terms of how to relate to the system itself. And the evidence of the child, of course, you get your evidence from your doctors, your clinical psychologists, your forensic investigators, your DNA evidence, and the like. And then you should be in a position to present that evidence in court without the child having to testify in that sense. Yeah.
Now, in the event that the offended is a minor, but who is able to relate events of the crime, what happens?
Same thing. Okay. What happens is you will get what we call the court preparation officers. They will go through, they will sit with the child, go through the child, explain the proceedings, explain the expectations that the child would expect in court, prepare the child emotionally and mentally and psychologically, so that the trauma of going through the court system, and especially with questions, whether by the prosecution or by the defense, the child should be properly prepared for that. The court preparation officers are trained, and some of them they are probation officers, some of them they are social workers, some of them they are trained educators in different fields, and they are able to understand the needs of the child in terms of the child understanding the processes and the taking of the pressure from the child in terms of anxiety that one gets when you're in court environment.
But do you ever prepare them enough for the shrewd behavior of defense attorneys who are really hell-bent on ensuring that their client is freed, and to some extent going out to tear apart the offended just so that the suspect may be released?
Yes, indeed. Most of the witnesses you will see, if they get the expectations. Look, by the way, if there is unfair tearing of a part of a witness and the like, the prosecutor or the state advocate is there to protect and object at times, and they want to see that this is being unfair to the witness. But also the courts, the magistrate and the judges, they know, and then they see what is fair and the like. But grueling cross-examinations, of course, the witnesses are prepared. They are informed that, look, you might
it's going to be tough.
You might spend another 2 or 3 days on the witness stand here, or if you're pretty at ease with what you're doing, it might even last less than a day. At times it lasts less than 30 minutes or an hour, depending on what are the issues. But yes, in terms of preparations, we call that program, we call the Kibonali said in the NPA. The guys, they do a wonderful job in respect of that.
Okay. We're going to talk about the backlog only after the break. We're going to take a quick break. This question time, please don't go away. Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest today, Advocate Andrew Chauke, is the Director of Public Prosecutions here in South of Gauteng. Now, the backlog. People's cases are reminded over and over and over. Sometimes, there's a case where I think, and it was involving the rape of a 16-year-old or so. The case was reminded about 67 times. This is not fair to the victims.
Yes.
Or to the offended.
Yes, there are various factors, Teru, that influence the cases being postponed. In the first place, you'll know that most of the cases, the accused are entitled to have a defense counsel.
Yeah.
Now, if an accused does not have a defense counsel, you find that the case has to be postponed for several times because of that. At times, you find that the witnesses, the offended in this instance, they've got their own commitments in a sense, especially when you talk about a 16-year-old child. Like during this time of the year, it's school exams and the like. It will be foolhardy to expect the child to be in court at this time of the year, testifying, going through the trauma of court as opposed to preparing for exams. Now, attended to that, you get those who plainly play the system. That once they come with delaying tactics, the witnesses will disappear or they will get fed up and decide no longer they are not going to court. Or maybe the case has started and then there are legal technical issues that are being raised by the defense or by the prosecution, and arguments are presented in court, and from there the case is postponed for judgment, or maybe the defense in the next available date is not available, or the prosecution or the judicial officer. So there are various factors. But yeah, if you get an extreme case like you're saying of 67 times, one needs to hold back and say, hey, look, where lies the problem here? And that's when you get to put this in front of the judicial officer in court to say, look, there are inordinate delays in respect of this matter, and these are the following reasons. And the court, the magistrate or the judge is able to make appropriate orders to curb further unnecessary postponements, whether by the prosecution or by the defense. And
according to your statistics, I know I've said that the violence against women and children is on the rise. Yes. Is this what you're seeing also in the courts?
Yes, to a certain extent, yes. But you would know that there are cases, we're talking about those that we know, which have been reported.
Which have been reported, yes.
As apart from those that you in the media would know, which are not necessarily reported to the police. So when I speak about the percentage and the backlogs, or whether there's an increase, I talk about the cases which are actually court-going cases, not what you would hear in the media. Somebody says, I was there, this is what has happened. Now, in terms of that, in the division, we're having about 15.1% of backlog cases in respect of that, which we have decreased in the past 10 months by about 3% and the like. So, of course, we have got some of the areas where the backlogs of this kind of cases, they are very much worrying, which needs our attention, and we're busy looking into that, like your Tembisa, your Johannesburg, your Randburg, your areas like Protea in Soweto, and some of the areas. But those that I've mentioned, those are the critical areas where you've got a lot of cases which are quite lengthy in terms of the issues that are involved there. And like, but most of them, yes. But those who are involving children per se, most of them, the backlog is almost very less. It could be about almost something like 6 or 7%. Okay. Because the cases that involve children, all of them will give them priority anyway.
Okay. Yeah. What kind of defenses are you or your prosecutors getting there in courts?
Oh, anything they vary. Anything between I was not there, I do not know, I don't know anything about things. This is squabbles between neighbors. They are just accusing me for something that I do not know. Or it's an issue of I'm here as the father of the house. I'm no longer wanted. They're making use of the kid to report me, to get rid of me. And, you get all the various things. Some of them, of course, were the adult offenders, the offended adults. You find that they said, no, it's my partner. We had a relationship and all sort of things. And those that are easy well to go through them. And the ones which are difficult that you see, it's when a person comes with a defense, like the offended is a 13-year-old girl or 12-year-old girl and whatever. And then you hear a person saying, no, she consented. She's my girlfriend, or with this thing of saying it's a process of culture that I was going to marry this child and whatever. And obviously, you can see, and legally, and all what I'm telling you now, it's not even a defense, but you have got to through those motions and the like until a person is correctly convicted.
What is a waste of time? I mean, sometimes I used to go to courts and just sit and listen to proceedings, and some of the things, I must be honest with you, Advocate Chauke, I thought this is just a waste of time, really. You are giving yourself time to listen to a lot of nonsense there, which you're really not supposed to.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the law and how the criminal justice system in South Africa works. There is, as long as a person is before the court, where there is a judicial officer, where there is a judge, a magistrate, once that magistrate or the judge allows the proceedings to go on like that, even if you think it's a lot of nonsense, to the decider of the facts and the case might not necessarily be there, then of course if the judge interferes and stops the defense or stops the prosecution from that will be a ground for review or a ground to say on appeal, this is what has happened, we have been bad to do this. So there are various factors and the like. But look, believe you me, between the defense and the prosecution and the court, once nonsense is nonsense, we are able to say that. And, and people are able to act accordingly.
The withdrawals of cases. And I mean, like you said, there are cases where a husband would have been assaulted by the wife, right? Or vice versa. And after a day or so, or when you're supposed to go to court, the person comes and says, no, actually, no, we have sorted issues out and I want to withdraw the case.
Yeah, you see, society has got its own ups and downs. You say you stand in a position of whether you want to break families or you want to encourage people to be together. But what usually will happen is you follow. Each case will have its own merits and whatever. Now, depending, you will have a case where there is a history of this abuse that they report each other maybe on a Saturday, Sunday, and Monday morning it's withdrawal and whatever. And the women's groups at times, they help in this instance because some of them, they're exposed to these things. They will be in a position to alert the prosecutor to say, no, look, this is what is happening. This parties, this is what they have been doing for the past, and we think something drastic is going to happen here. So even if you were to withdraw a case, you have to be very much conscious whether you do it for all the right reasons, not because the complainant says so. The complainant can come and tell me to say, look, it's my husband, I don't want it to proceed and the like. If I realize that, look, this has gone too far and it's going towards where serious thing or murder is going to happen, we just simply refuse and say, let's get on.
Okay, hold the thought there. This is question time. We're taking a quick break. Please don't go away.
Cameroon's economic capital, a unique art collection is on display. Titled Yesterday's Memory, Tomorrow's Memory.
We are trying to preserve this heritage despite many things that have changed in the designing, embroidery and the model.
If I'm telling you, you don't like it, I call it defeat.
Join Musam Khalipi on Afro Showbiz every Saturday at 19:30 CAT.
Who are we, you ask? This is who we are.
We are technologically driven.
We are unashamedly Afrocentric.
We advise you not only on legal matters,
but on health issues as well.
We bring imagination to life.
We celebrate arts and culture and lifestyle.
We tackle life challenges head on.
We dig deep. We probe. We question.
We invite you to take a view from our house,
as we tell it without fear, separating fiction from factual.
We are the SABC News Channel.
All news, all global, all the time. Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. Our guest today is Advocate Andrew Chauke. He's the Director of Public Prosecutions for South Gauteng. Now, Advocate Chauke, fine, let's leave the withdrawals. How accessible are your services to ordinary citizens? Can somebody just walk in to one of your courts and say, this is who I am, this is my complaint, I need your help?
Yes. In fact, what happens is our senior prosecutors and control prosecutors in the courts, they are really the face of what we call in the NPA, the face of the NPA. That's where most of the communities will get interact with them. Now, if a person, for any various reasons, a person who is having a complaint that something in court happened wrongly or what have you, you will have to see the senior prosecutor, the control prosecutor there. But other than that, we have got systems where we look into all the problems that our communities or the offended would have in the communities. Now, in the Director of the Public Prosecutions Office, we have what we call a representations system where, as said, you are not satisfied with what happened in court, whether you are in Protea or whatever, where you can simply make your representations, put pen on paper, you write, and then send it to us. At times, there are even the toll-free numbers that they've been sent out for the NPA, where people can phone into the NPA and say, this is what is happening. But apart from that, in each and every magistrate's office within South Gauteng, and I think probably that's what happens in the whole of South Africa, they have desks where multiple purpose center in a court, where you get in the court, you can ask whether you want to go to see a magistrate, or you want to see a court manager, you want to see a prosecutor, so that is a part of the system, and that system works. However, in a situation where people are having serious problems, they pick up the phone and phone the DPP's office and say, look, we have got this desperate situation, and we're able to look into that and then attend to the problems as quickly as possible.
Tell me, is there nothing you can do about the touters?
Touters in what sense? Those who are working for attorneys who want to get clients for attorneys.
Yes.
Look, it's not
because
easy.
They're operating in your space there.
Yes, touting, there's nothing wrong with touting. It's the how part is it, how part of it, that becomes a problem when people are forced to say, you can't go to any other attorney, you have to go to this, or you can't go to legal aid attorney even if you don't have money, you know. And this is what we have been encouraging our communities. From time to time, we have our prosecutors and our advocates into community radio stations where they explain the procedures about all these things. To say, look, you don't have to have this particular attorney that is brought to you by somebody else. You have got the right to look for your own. You have got the right to legal aid if you are indigent.
Yeah, but legal aid, they always say that those are the cheap ones. You are likely to lose a case if you take those lawyers.
Yeah. Look, but you must understand, we're talking about lawyers. They are legal aid lawyers. They are trained professionals. Obviously, for the fact that you don't pay for those services does not render it to be none of no value. Believe you me, most of the legal aid attorneys, they take their work seriously, and most that have been exposed to, they are very serious about the kind of work that they do out there. And there are instances where you get feedback from the offended who say, look, I had the legal aid attorney, I'm satisfied that my case was handled properly. But of course, with the prosecution, there's no easy way of saying this is the offended will not get the proper service. We pride ourselves, especially in South Gauteng, about the quality of prosecutions that we do out there. Of course, you will have one or two cases where there might be problems or mistakes. But yeah.
Now, Advocate Chauke, how do dockets get lost?
Yeah. You know, the system is such that you out of 100 of dockets, even if one docket gets misplaced or gets lost, it's a problem. But anything can happen between when the case is postponed and when it's taken back to the police and forth. It's either it might get lost while still at the court there. You have got this, some of our colleagues or some of our stakeholders who might find themselves guilty of this corrupt activity of selling the dockets and all sort of things. But in most of the cases, we're quick to get to get to them. And I can safely say in our jurisdiction in South Gauteng, those incidences, they are very, very minimal, if they are not even there at all.
Have you had to deal with such? Because, I mean, you have instances where people say, no, don't worry. I have the prosecutor. Well, we spoke to the prosecutor. He gets to court there and he just makes some lousy mistakes to ensure that he sells the case away, basically.
Of course, if, like they say, if it is too good to be true, something, it rings a bell. Once you get into a court as an offended or as somebody, and then you realize that there is this unhealthy cozy between the prosecutor, the investigating officer, the defense, and what have you, you can start to raise your eyebrows and say, look, something is definitely not on. But some of it, of course, anonymously, people are able to report to us to say, look, there is this case that is on the roll on such and such, that apparently there is this thing that happens, and we are able to take appropriate actions. Look, as I'm sitting here, there are prosecutors who have been convicted, who have been sentenced because of this kind of things. There are policemen who have also been convicted for these corrupt activities. There are clerks, as I'm talking to you now, there are some clerks of the Department of Justice who have also been arrested, who are prosecuting for all various things of corruption, based third-party funds, getting rid of charges, getting rid of dockets, falsifying judges' as orders and whatever and the like. So most of those cases, we're on top of them. And believe you me, we're having some successes in that regard.
Alfred Andrew Chauke.
So,
let me thank you very much for the time. All right. You can see. That was Question Time for today. Follow us on Twitter at QuestionTime24, our email address questiontime@sabc.co.za, or you can also follow me on Twitter at Mpho Tsedu. That's it from us today. Goodbye.